Hey guys, Dr. Justin Marcagiani here. Today we're going to be talking about the top 3 ways you can assess inflammation in your body. We'll be talking about lab tests and just kind of going over what inflammation is. This is a common question, and it's really going to be the linchpin underneath any degenerative condition, any type of symptom representation due to bad health. There's inflammation at the root, and the question is, are you really getting to the root cause? So before we do, please smash the like button. Love to see comments down below. Share with friends and family. First things first, when you have inflammation, let's just say it's in your body. Let's say you have joint pain, tissue inflammation. The question is, where's that coming from? Is it because you just did a bunch of new movements, you did a hard workout? Is it because you're sitting all day, right? So, of course, the more inflamed you are, it's like leaving the gas on your stove. And let's say you walk in your kitchen and you accidentally, drop the knife against the hard countertop and it sparks. Well, normally if there's no gas, no big deal, right? Pick up the knife, put it away. If you make a spark and you get an explosion when the gas is there. So think of inflammation as it's like the gas seeping through around your house, waiting for a little spark. And a spark doesn't have to be a little spark. It can be any kind of impact, any type of stressor, anything that puts strain on your body, then things are going to blow up. You're going to have a inflammatory response. So typically your immune cells respond to inflammation. And it's good because if I get my elbow whacked, you're going to have a histamine response. People talk about histamine's a bad thing. Well, histamine is actually a vasodilator. And then it opens up the blood vessels so you can have white blood cells come in and clean out that injury. But the question is, if you're chronically inflamed, now you're chronically having these high histamine issues. And the question is, why is the histamine there? Now, in relation to people that have high histamine issues, usually there's a gut issue, there's bacterial imbalances, and it's making the immune system ultra sensitive to histamine. But in regards to inflammation, the first thing we look at, of course, is going to be food vectors coming in. We know processed sugar has gone up 100 pounds per person per year. That's number one. We know food allergens like flours and grains and those type of things are going to be huge as well. We know we're just sitting all day. We're not getting enough steps. I mean, I'm standing right now. I've already, at lunchtime today, I had 11,000 steps already, so I'll try to have 15 to 20 by the end of the day. So I'll get some steps right here while we're chatting now. So trying to get movement like that is super helpful. Now, when you're overly stressing your body from an inflammation standpoint, you're going to have cytokines, you're going to have interleukins. These are all the chemical messengers to help the body's repair mechanisms happen. And inflammation it's a good thing. If I do my bicep curls and I get a bigger bicep, I damage that tissue a little bit, inflammation comes in, brings more protein in there, growth hormone, testosterone, and I get a bigger, stronger bicep. That's good. It's the out of control inflammation that is the problem that's causing the tissues to always break down, and you're not getting that anabolic metabolism, that buildup that balances it out to build it back stronger. And so inflammation is essentially your body breaking down, right, from an immunological standpoint and a catabolic standpoint without the corresponding anabolic metabolism to balance it out. Inflammation, or we call it hormesis, with exercise or any kind of stressor, there is a corresponding response of, bicep curls, inflammation, a little bit stronger, balance it out. And so when we're talking about inflammation, it's that inability to adapt with that anabolic building block response to make yourself stronger, right? Hormesis is the ability to have a stress and make you stronger. Chronic inflammation is missing that hormetic anabolic rebound, if you will. So a couple tests we'll look at. CRP is a great test. I prefer hs-CRP. hs-CRP looks at less than 3. Usually CRP does 3 or under. It'll just say, you're under 3, right? But it won't tell you, are you under 1? Are you 0.5? So highly sensitive CRP is good. CRP is a protein made by the liver, so it's potential that you have maybe liver issues and maybe your liver's not making the CRP. It's possible, right? If you have some liver problems. So like people that have statins, a lot of times that suppresses the HMG coadylates in the liver, and that makes a cholesterol, but that could also impact C-reactive protein. So if you're on a statin or medications, that may impact that marker. So you have hs-CRP. I like homocysteine because if you're consuming lots of junky B vitamins, that's going to potentially increase that. If you're MTHFR, have a methylation issue, methylation conversion issue, methyl tetrahydrofolate reductase, MTHFR. We can see some of these on, let's just say if we have an organic acid test, we run methylmalonic acid, we run 4-aminoglutamate, we can see some of these things, but homocysteine is an inflammatory metabolite that goes to the vasculature, and it gets broken down when we have good levels of folate and good levels of B12. And so if we're consuming healthy B12 and folate from like vegetables and healthy meats, then we're going to keep that down. If we have MTHFR issues, like I mentioned, you may not be activating or converting it, or if you're getting junky folic acid from bad supplements, or you're just consuming orange juice and breads where it's fortified, then you're going to have a problem. So that's where you want to be on top of your diet and really get the inflammation down. You can go put in the name Kilmer McCulley, who is a researcher out of Harvard. He was laughed out of his research position in the 80s and 90s talking about homocysteine and its implications on heart disease or cardiovascular stress. He was laughed out of it, but now we know he was totally right. The problem was you just couldn't connect a really big multi-billion-dollar drug to it. It was just nutrition and healthy supplementation that was going to be the solution, not too expensive, right? So I like homocysteine. I like CRP. Now, there's a couple other markers I'll throw here. I know we're going to talk about the top 3, but I'll give you a couple of bonus ones here. I like fasting insulin. If we have high levels of insulin, it's going to impact the vasculature. It's going to cause glycation because typically high levels of insulin are there because you have a lot of glucose to correspond with it. So high fasting insulin is going to cause damage to the vasculature. It's going to cause oxidative stress. It's going to cause advanced glycation end products. And then also because that's a signifier that a lot of glucose is there with it. So oxidative stress, that's going to cause lots of blood flow issues to the tiny vessels in the eyes and the big vasculature system. That's going to cause potential blockages there. So you got to be on top of that, right? So fasting insulin is a wonderful test. A fasting glucose may not be enough. Now on top of that, we could throw in there like a fibrinogen or a D-dimer to look at clotting. There's a lot of people I'm seeing today with blood clotting issues, and it's nice to have a fibrinogen and a D-dimer to see how clotting is looking. When cells are sticking together at higher rates, there's usually inflammation that's causing those platelets to aggravate, right? Platelets are the cells that flow to the body, but when there's inflammation, right, they can become fibrin, they turn clots. And so this is where we look at a D-dimer or a fibrinogen to get a window of that level of inflammation. So I like CRP, I like homocysteine, I like D-dimer and fibrinogen, and then also like a fasting insulin in there as well. Is there some great tests to look at to get a window into how your inflammation levels are at? Now, that being said, what do you do about it? Now, one of the most powerful anti-inflammatory systems of your body is your adrenals. So you can get your adrenals looked at, see how your cortisol levels are doing, right? It's the Goldilocks effect. Not too high, then we're catabolic, we're stressed, we're tired but wired, but not too low where we're tired and flat and we have no cortisol rhythm at all. So we want to get our cortisol rhythm tested. I'll put a link down below for the company that I use and when I test my adrenals with. Looking at DHEA sulfate's a wonderful marker because low DHEA tells me your adrenals have been taxed. Your adrenals also bump out a lot of precursor sex hormone called DHEA, dihydroepiandrosterone sulfate, and that's a precursor to a lot of your sex hormone building blocks. So DHEA is a really nice indication of adrenal health. So I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you want to dive in deeper, you definitely want to look at the gut, definitely want to look at the hormones. Those are good starting points. Your food, of course, every bite of food you take is either putting you in an anti-inflammatory, anabolic state or a pro-inflammatory, catabolic breakdown disease state. So choose your food wisely there. And if you want to dive in deeper, there'll be links down below from my coordinates if you want to schedule functional medicine wise worldwide. I see patients all over the world. There'll be a link and coordinates down there to reach out to my team. All right, guys, have a phenomenal day. Take care. Bye.